Hello and welcome to the A3 podcast. We love the footy. We passed the biggest game of the year, the grand final, but of course there's very important things on the agenda, such as the trade period. But before we get to that, I'm joined once again by Alex Miller,
Afternoon, gentlemen. How are we?
not too shabby,
Yeah.
and Alex Doherty, of course.
Good afternoon, lads. Good afternoon. How are we all doing?
Knackered.
Knackered.
It's been a long week.
It was a big weekend. The granny was, of course, the game of the year,
That was sensational.
the
that
big
game.
dance.
Very nice.
What a game. As we know, the Eagles came home to win by 5 points with Dummy Sheed kicking a goal up. With about, 2 minutes to go?
Yeah.
Less than two.
Yeah.
Big Dom.
Big
What a
Dom.
clutch. What a clutch play.
He had a huge game in general. He was fantastic.
He played
Yeah.
well.
Oh, I think was he second to Shuey in the norm?
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
in the
Adam-
vote. I think Adams might have
Adams-
been.
But from West Coast, he probably would have been.
Yeah, because I reckon he was probably stiff to not win it. But that's not saying Luke Shuey didn't deserve it
Oh,
because
he's-
he had a monster game himself. But I thought Sheed played just as brilliantly.
Yeah.
Sheed was great.
I thought Luke Shaw, he was sensational.
No, it was a great game. Really, it got off to a bit of a rocketing start for the Pies. They kicked the first 5 goals of the game, and it looked very, very nerve-wracking for the Eagles. As Mark Lacroix said, you saw what happened next.
We can't repeat anything else.
We cannot repeat the full quote.
I think you all know what happens next. I think that's about as far as we can go.
Yeah.
There'll be a link on the page.
Yes. It was a big game though. It was one of the better grand finals that I've seen in a while. I think obviously Bulldogs and the Swans was a massive one back in 2016, which I'm sure Doc will repeat many times through this episode. But
Possibly.
it was a fantastic game. Just the twists and turns, like the highs and lows. The Eagles they looked like they were done in the first quarter, and then they came back in it. And just the way it finished was like that was nerve wracking. That was astounding.
Get the counter, boys. I promise I won't say a lot about the Bulldogs grand final, but I reckon this was probably one of the better grand finals we've seen in this century, in particular.
It was great.
I'll even go as far as to say it may just pip the Bulldogs grand final
Ooh.
because, like that game was over midway through the last quarter 2 years ago.
Yeah.
This game wasn't decided until pretty much the final siren.
Yeah, it was on like a cake in the oven. It was just cooking away. It was a fantastic contest.
Yeah.
I thought, even though Collingwood kicked the first 5, or was it 4 or 5?
Five.
First 5.
5, and they dictated turns. You felt like when Willie Rioli got the luck of the draw with that bounce off his heel, you could sense West Coast, bit of momentum, bit more of a shift. And I think if that quarter went for a bit longer, they probably would have kicked 1 or 2 more. So it was an interesting game. I thought both teams were pretty good, but I just want to quickly talk about the tagging role that Mark Hutchings did.
Oh yes.
Unseal.
I thought about it during the week, had a conversation with a couple of mates saying, he's going to be so important. And to keep Sidebottom to 14, so not even half of 30, and he had 41 the week before.
When most people were probably predicting side bottom for the Norm Smith, and
Yeah.
Hutchings kept him right out of it.
I called for that matchup here last week and I got it, and Hutchings played a brilliant job. He's probably been one of the better taggers this season, Mark Hutchings.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
done
he's
well
up there.
considering he was sort of in and out of the team and looked like a bit of a lost cause, and halfway through the season got back on track. So it sounds crazy, but I would have even had him up there for the Norm Smith because, to keep probably the most influential player on the ground quiet.
I don't know if Norm Smith voters are putting too much towards the tag.
No, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. No,
Yeah.
he wouldn't be noticed at all. But the fact that, Steele almost won a Brownlow this year. So to keep the guy under 20, under 15, sensational.
Yeah, I thought when Collingwood kicked those first 5 goals, they were just so clinical, and West Coast just looked so shaky. There was a lot of turnovers, a lot of fumbles. I think of Tom Cole dropping an easy mark in that.
Absolute sitter.
Dropping an absolute sitter that led to Stevenson's first goal. And then Shannon Hearn turning the ball over. It was
Hearn was useless that first half.
He
also.
was.
He
It was-
did nothing.
shades of 2015. We're thinking, geez,
Flashbacks.
this is going to be
Suppressed memories.
a very, very long afternoon for the Eagles.
Yep.
But geez, after quarter time, they really nullified their influence on the contest.
Yeah.
And I know it's a bit stiff, but West Coast did thoroughly deserve that win. And it doesn't matter who you are, you shouldn't be coughing up a 5-goal-0 lead at the end of the day.
No.
but I do suppose it's the 2 best teams in the comp.
I agree
in the
that
grand final.
I
The
agree.
momentum's going to swing, and they're going to have
exactly
those
right.
periods of play where they're just like unstoppable.
Yeah, that took the words right, mate. That's fantastic. That's exactly what I mean. Like, they were just It's the two best teams in the comp, so I think, yeah, I totally agree, Doc. 5-goal lead, you really shouldn't be throwing that way at all, especially when you come out of the blocks firing.
Yeah.
I want to ask you both about a couple of players.
Right.
Darcy Moore probably should have played. He was fit. James Aish probably would have been the guy to chop at. What do you think of him?
I guess it depends on whether you want to play the backline taller or not. I thought Aish was fine. He didn't do anything particularly bad. I don't know if there's anyone I would drop necessarily from the Pies backline.
But you're
fit
going
more
up
in.
against Vardy, last set of
Yeah,
times.
I think you saw in that second half that the height of the Eagles forward line kind of...
The fact that
was an
Jack Crisp
issue.
was on Darling a couple of times was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
a statement of how short their team is. Jaden Stevenson kicked 2 goals in the first quarter.
He was massive first quarter.
Yeah.
So was Varco.
But
I
then
tell you what, he's going to be something to watch
He's gonna be something
in
to
a
watch.
couple of years. Like the season that he's produced is like he can only go up from here.
18-year-old kid, so exactly right. There's so much room to grow. So you just think when he gets some body and time on the midfield. So I think it comes back to almost the very first episode where we talk about young players staying in the game.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything really after quarter time.
Yeah.
Which is, it happens. It's a big occasion and whatnot. I thought the goalie was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, De Gaulle, not very often he has a poor game.
No.
Yeah.
And he did well.
I reckon he could almost been the player of the final series.
Yeah.
Like I know Sidebottom got it and thoroughly deserved.
Mate, Tommy Langdon should have gotten it.
You reckon?
I think Langdon is very, very underrated, and I know the commentators were talking about him a fair bit during the game, and I did my prediction, like I said in the last week, was for Tommy for the
Yep.
Norm Smith. And
Jeez,
honestly,
he was
he had a massive game.
Close.
It was not a bad call, I thought. Langdon's really stepped it up. He's playing above his height. He's playing the role of a key backman, and he's
Yeah.
under 190.
I think we talked about this last week. He looks better in that role. He looks
Yeah.
more comfortable as a key defender, which is crazy because he's under 190 compared to when he's playing as a third man. Because he's a great marker, good set of beautiful mitts.
And he's got a good spoil on him too. There
Yeah.
were a couple of times where he was on Darling for a good chunk of the game. And every time the ball came near him, he was just punching it out.
Yeah.
Didn't let him get near it, or at least put himself into the contest and made it hard for Darling. We saw in the second half, Darling had to go about halfway up the ground to start getting the ball because Langdon had him wrapped up.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. Goes unnoticed more often than not, Tom Langdon, and I think behind De Goey and Sidebottom, he's probably their most influential player.
Yeah, absolutely.
De Goey's goal, I want to talk about that just quickly. That was probably one of the best goals I've seen in a grand final.
Yeah, it was pretty special.
That was like to burst through about like 2-3 blokes and just nonchalantly snap it around the body.
Just had the instinct, I think, then.
Like Collingwood supporters are very right to be excited about what he
he's a star.
can bring to this team.
Only for 2 years, though.
But I think he'll sign a longer
Huge
term
deal at Richmond, yep.
Richmond.
Oh, you're
coming to the Tigers.
You're kidding yourself.
No way, he'll stay there, definitely.
Yeah, they love
But yeah,
him.
I reckon he'll sign a big contract extension either next year
Yep.
or the year after.
The last question I have for you both about the game is the two key forwards for both teams, Cox and Darling, did nothing in the first half.
Yeah.
Both had much better second halves. Who do you reckon influenced the game more? You talked, Catalano, about Darling having to lead up a lot higher.
Yeah.
But that time where West Coast were bombing it out of their defensive 50.
And he was taking massive marks.
And he was taking those marks. As we all know, West Coast like a kick mark possession. So I'd say out of those two, I probably thought, as much as we love the USA sensation, I thought Darling had a better game.
No,
overall.
I'd agree. Darling did have, just because he was part of getting them back in it. I think him, McGovern, probably like Sheed as well, were all really, really important in getting the Eagles back in the game.
Yep.
So I think Darling had the better game.
Yeah, I reckon Cox's game was really good, but Darling did have a really good third quarter in particular, where I think, how many marks did he take in that third quarter? He took about.
He had a lot.
But they were pretty much all contested as well.
Took a handful of marks, but I think if Cox dropped a lot of marks that he took the other week against Richmond, if he had taken a few more of those, I reckon he would have been on par with Jack Darling.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in terms of influence, what What do you guys think of a couple of incidents I want to have a look at? The first one
Incidents.
Triggered.
Oh boy.
no.
Boy, oh boy, where were we?
No, there was a couple of moments, we'll say.
Okay.
That bump from Liam Ryan to Braden Maynard was one that I thought was pretty interesting.
That was beautiful.
It was a classic shirt front, and I'd tell you what, if it was a regular season game, Michael Christian would have landed him a week.
Oh, I thought there was nothing illegal about it. It was a
I
fair
agree.
bump.
I
It was
agree. It was nothing.
right near the ball.
I think the problem is that obviously we know that if it was a marking contest, it would have been a free kick. But the general public, I think a lot of just general supporters think that should always be a free kick. But like you both said, it's a fair bump. It's play on.
It
He's
is
not.
fair.
I agree. It was legal, and
But
it should be play on.
obviously, if it was a marking contest, it'd be a free kick. I think that's where people are getting confused. But it
Yeah,
wasn't.
well, no one's going in for bumps like that in a marking contest anyway.
I know,
Isn't
but
that
I think
goes
that's
into
what
the realm
people-
of blocking and
I think people are forgetting though that it wasn't a kick.
Yeah.
It was a handball.
Yeah.
And I think people are thinking that that's why it should have been a free kick.
no,
but,
it was completely fair.
so I thought, I'll tell
it
you
was
what,
beautiful technique
Maynard
as well.
is hard as nuts though.
Yeah, he's a really tough.
He was gasping for air, sucking him in, but he kept going.
Then
I
he got
don't
a-
think he went off
He got
after
another
that.
bump later with his shoulder.
Yeah.
But he had a huge final series as well. by
Yeah,
the way.
you talk about underrated players. I think Braden Maynard's another one that goes.
His game against Toby Green was huge.
Who's
and
Toby Green?
I reckon,
Who
is
played
he?
that game?
Never heard of him?
I reckon Maynard, Langdon, and Chris Mayne probably be the three biggest
Yeah.
underrated players in the final series. I think.
Chris Mayne
Yeah.
stepped up.
Huge
And in like a
second half.
new role across half back, like
Yeah.
moving up to the wing as well. Obviously, Mayne's always been a wing kind of player, but like he really slotted into where they needed him to be. And his whole final series was great.
Maybe that's why he was a bit patchy when he came over from Freo initially. Probably.
Didn't have a role.
That and a new role, different.
Yeah,
And we talked about Jack Redden last week. It always takes 2 or 3 seasons to get settled.
yeah.
And now Redden's like one of West Coast's best players
Most
at the
influential
moment.
player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maine laid 14 tackles on
Yeah.
That's
on the
huge.
weekend.
More than anyone by a mile, wasn't it? I think
Yeah,
9 or
uh,
8.
Trelaw had 11 tackles.
That is huge.
And yeah, I think the most
There's
tackles,
25.
the
but
most tackles from West Coast was Shuey with 8.
I don't
So,
think you can understate the impact of a player that goes as hard as that.
25 tackles between 2 blokes.
yeah, I mean that's not Collingwood gave it a crack, but they ultimately stumbled in the final minutes.
As we've seen from like this year and last year as well, the real pressure teams, the real tacklers and be around the players, everyone has the ball like as quickly as possible are usually the ones that
That's the way the game's going.
do better. Richmond, Melbourne play that way. Now Collingwood have kind of adapted to that kind of style as well.
Yeah.
Any other incidents you have, Doc?
There was another incident with the Collingwood runner that blocked.
Oh, poor
I'd
Woodward.
say got in away with Stevenson, allowed Yo to mark, and then kicked the corresponding goal. Like I don't know if Stevenson could have got there in time. That was a pretty.
I don't think he was going.
That was a pretty poor kick, but
I think that was, like you said, the kick.
yeah,
That was a terrible
it was a
kick.
pretty poor kick. But you can only ponder what if the runner hadn't gotten away.
Look,
He's
no.
the ex-Hawthorn boy, isn't
Yeah,
he?
Alex Woodward.
Yeah, Alex Woodward.
Sad.
Yeah, it
Poor
is.
guy. He's had real troubled career. He's had about 3 ACLs.
Hmm.
And with the same amount of like surgeries and reconstructions on his knees. And he was I think he's been playing in the Collingwood VFL. He played a few games this year and he played 8 games and he came second in the best and fairest, in
Far
the
out.
VFL best and fairest.
Wow.
So obviously he's still got it.
Still capable.
But yeah, no, unfortunately, he just got in the way. Look, I don't think it was gonna.
can't-
Stevenson wasn't gonna mark that anyway.
I was going to say, you can't really blame.
Or at least spoil it.
Even if he spoiled it, there was more West Coast players around the ball anyway.
Yeah.
It was to the disadvantage of Collingwood, no matter what.
You can't really. Me personally, I don't really blame anyone. If anything, there you blame the kick.
Yeah,
Like you said,
I
Doc.
agree.
Yeah.
It's hard with all that running stuff. It's a mess.
Yeah, it's good to see Bucks get around him after the
Yeah.
game too, because
No, that was
he was a real emotional mess.
Bucks I think he showed his heart, honestly, in the grand final. Like he was getting around everyone.
Oh, and he got around the banner too.
Yeah.
Broke down as quickly as Collingwood did in the last 2 minutes.
That's
It breaks your heart. It breaks your heart to see poor Bucks still
That's a stinger.
still hasn't won his premiership.
I reckon he'll get one.
I
They'll
reckon,
have another crack next year.
I reckon
surely.
so. I reckon this sets up a really good. I reckon another 3-4 years of good solid football. Collingwood can be a top 4 team
Absolutely.
for many years down the line.
They do always say you got to lose one to win one.
They
So,
had no key defenders all year. So
yeah. To come as far as they did
finish in
with
the top 4.
the patchwork backline, yeah.
I suppose the only thing is the draw will be a lot tougher.
Yeah.
Yes, it will. They did have a fairly easy draw this year, the Pies, because they didn't finish too high in 2017. So yeah, it'll be interesting next year. We'll get into the speculation next year once we know all the players.
Do you have the other last incident?
Yes.
One more incident?
Yes, one more incident,
know
and you guys know what I'm talking
I've
about.
been waiting for this.
The so-called illegal block on
the block.
Maynard with
Was Maynard blocked?
Was Maynard blocked? That's a huge question that comes out of this grand final. Was it a free kick and
Miller's nodding his head. He's nodding his head.
Yeah, Miller's been all over it since the grand final.
Mate.
Tell us what you think.
So, right, I posed this question to you, right? People talk about regular season, they don't get paid all the time. But if the free kick's there for something like that, it should always be paid.
Right.
Right? So what my angle is, Rioli's engaging Maynard.
Yeah.
They're both scuffling for the drop of the ball.
Yeah.
Rioli would know that Dom Sheed's coming. So Rioli gets in front. He grabs Maynard with no intention to mark the football. Right? Rioli knows he wants it to hit the deck, or he knows Sheed will mark it, right? You've got the numbers. Maynard's only intention is to get to the football. Right? He's trying to wrestle off Rioli and get there with the fist. So my question to you is, you don't pay a free kick, obviously, for the wrestling. But if one guy does not have the intention of going for the mark and is preventing someone who is trying to get the football, isn't that a free kick?
I reckon, like, if his eyes weren't on the ball, then it probably should have been a free kick.
So, his eyes are on the footy after he engages Maynard and knows, right, I've got him tied up because Sheed's coming from the right. He's about 20 metres away. By the time the ball's in the 50, he'll mark that. Anyone with any common sense would know exactly what they're doing. Surely.
Oh,
It's a tough one.
yeah, I reckon it's a 50-50 call.
I think it's...
The problem is, though, if it's a 50-50, it's a free kick.
Oh, well, the umpires tend to let the 50-50s go a bit more in the finals,
don't
they?
That's the problem as well.
Yeah.
Under 3 minutes in any final, they just put the whistles away.
Yeah.
Which, for one, is stupid because imagine being a player all year, having a set of rules, and then coming into a final where the heat's cranked up for one, crowd's louder, intensity, better opponents, per se, right? And you've got to adapt to a different game style where you can literally pretty much do whatever you want.
Well, look, the obvious ones get called, but
They don't, though. Like, this, to me, is an obvious one. Like, that's a free kick.
In the moment, I didn't think it was a free. I didn't think
the Jeremy
watching it
Howe
was a
one was
free.
another one, right? Jeremy Howe drags it back in the defensive.
Oh
50.
yeah, I saw that one. That probably should have been. That probably should have been a free kick.
Whistle.
Oh, what,
back in the
the
pocket.
deliberate?
No,
No.
When he got
When
when
he dragged
the
it
ball
in,
back
yeah.
in.
I swear I even heard the umpire say, you dragged it in, Jeremy, but
Yeah.
don't know.
Look, I don't know, but that's my second point. Sorry, I'm just having a rant because I'm really. It just doesn't make sense. Like you can't
I'm
have.
fired up, lads.
I'm buying
You can't have one set of rules and then change it because that doesn't benefit anyone. It doesn't benefit the players, coaches, or the fans.
Well, it's not per se changing it. It's just changing
It's changing how they dictate the game.
yeah, how
So
they
for
interpret
me, right, the umpires having more of an influence not blowing the whistles than they would be calling a free kick.
We're never going to reach the... Look, there's the balance you got to reach of calling them and leaving them.
Yep.
And no one's ever going to be happy about
I know that.
100% of the time.
Yeah, that's a fair call.
I don't
Lord
think...
knows there's one person in this booth who's not happy about it.
I just don't get it.
Like I said, I didn't think in the moment it was a free.
No,
So
I reckon. It's a hard
you got to
one.
think about the
I
moment
do
as
agree
well.
with that.
Umpires are going to be nervy as well. It's 2 minutes left to go.
And then
You're not going
you
to
got
want
to think about where the umpires are standing. And all
Yeah,
that stuff.
exactly.
I do agree with all that.
Did they see the start of the contest?
Yeah.
Did they see Willie clearly looking over and being like, "Yep, here comes Sheed.
Well,
I'm
they
just
should
going to
be if
block
there's a
Maynard
bloody
out."
umpire in the forward 50 or defensive 50.
Did Maynard was Maynard going to have a clear run at it, or was he just?
Well, he couldn't, right?
The fact
Maynard's
is-
coming from back pocket, right? Willie's come from like diagonal bottom right, engaged him. So
Yes.
Brandon's still going for the football. So is Willie. And he sees Sheed coming probably about 20, 30 metres away from the top of the 50.
Okay.
So his intention is to get the ball to a 50-50 position where it will be numbers, right? That's Willie's goal.
Okay. So I pose this question: say if it's on the other end, and
So you're saying,
and say that there's that two opposition players engage, and and that allows Jerry McGovern to run in and take an intercept mark. Is that still a free kick?
So you're talking about a West Coaster player engaging a Collingwood forward?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a free kick. Because he has no intention of marking the ball either.
Yeah, that's
The thing is,
And
it's all a
heaps of
very
time-
grey area.
yeah,
There's
I
a
know.
lot to consider.
it's such a line ball call, that one.
Because, right, it's a mark. Like, that's the goal. You're not there to wrestle and let the ball bounce around
You're
your
there to
feet for
mark.
15 minutes. You're
Mark
there
for
to
the
mark
ball.
the football. So if your intention's not to mark, for me, that's a free kick. Regardless, defender, forward, ruckman, centre-half bench, wherever you're playing. No, it doesn't. That's my take. I've had enough.
Okay.
He's had enough. He's
Sorry.
over it.
I just want to say
Sorry.
2 quick points before we
over
move
it.
on.
Yes.
Number one,
Yes.
the West Coast Eagles are living proof that you can win a grand final at the
with
MCG.
Mark
So to
Leclerc.
any interstate supporters listening to this, shut the hell up about having a grand final.
Doc's had enough of this Vic Bias nonsense.
in whoop whoop or where
He's had enough.
or whoop whoop or wherever you are.
We're playing the granny at Joondalup, boys.
Playing at TIO.
First he was after Port, now he's after just anyone not from Victoria.
Yeah, mate, he
playing it-
hates them.
playing at TIO Stadium.
If you're from
And-
Perth, if you're from Sydney, if you're from Adelaide,
Stay
Doc's
away.
not going to like you. Do not come near the studio.
Get over it. MCG's hosting the grand final for the next 40 or so years.
Oh, my God.
If the West Coast Eagles can do it, Adelaide, Sydney, so can you. Stop whinging.
Gold Coast,
Gold Coast.
looking at you to win a flag.
They may not even have a team in the next 40 years.
Come on.
Ooh.
And secondly,
Secondly, he's fired up.
no. This one's not more.
This one's a bit more calm.
This is a bit more calm.
Put the gun away.
Like,
We're
pe-
toning
pe-
it down now. Nice and calm.
okay, guys, when you're done.
Nice
When-
and calm.
I know Collingwood copped a lot of criticism about having a soft draw, but they proved during the final series that they can
match it.
match it. So
Match it with the best of them.
I think that point about having a soft draw is completely irrelevant given what they've done throughout the final series.
No, I totally agree with that. Right,
Fair
Cap,
enough.
get onto the trades.
Oh, hello. We're on to the trade period now. Obviously, this is a massive time of the year. The trade period starts... The Mills, he's licking his fingers. He's loving it. Trade week starts next week, and obviously all the rumours are spreading around, and players are starting to nominate the clubs they want to go to. We could be here forever, sitting and talking
Will
about
be as quick and
all
brief
these
as we
rumours.
can.
I reckon
Look, obviously there's a bunch
gone
we've
long.
there's a bunch we've already talked about throughout the year. The more clear-cut ones that everybody's been thinking about, guys like McGovern and Shield. But obviously there's a lot of speculation on Shield. Hawthorn and St Kilda are really going in on him now. Some of the newer ones that have come out from this week, Gaff has officially nominated North Melbourne, is an interesting one to me.
Yeah.
North Melbourne are getting a lot of players that want to go there. Pollock and Gaff have officially nominated, so is Aaron Hall, I believe.
Yep.
And there's rumours surrounding Nick Newman and Brandon Ellis that want to go there. So there's a lot of good midfielders, a lot of midfield numbers going to North,
Yeah,
which is probably the area that they were lacking, outside midfielders in
I was
particular.
going to say, yeah, that's what they really need.
Yeah, what do you guys
Yeah.
think about all these moves?
It's hard to believe 12 months ago that North went for Dusty, tried to make a play and couldn't get him. And now, a year down the track, they're almost, you would say, reading at that list, Cat, that it's a destination club now.
I know.
Which is hard to believe. Like, I think North have really improved. They've showed a lot.
Yeah.
The fact that Jared Pollock came out and, straight away said, I want to go to North, shows me that it pretty much is a destination club. And
I think Pollock wants the big bucks as
yeah,
well.
as well. He wants
Yeah.
a fair bit of cash. I
Yeah.
think the Gaff one's really interesting because I really think he could have gone anywhere. He still hasn't gone yet, but I actually thought of a really good point yesterday. I'll get your guys' views on it. Is that Gaff will never really be a part of that group now, like that premiership winning team.
Yeah.
So anywhere though between something like as simple as banter between, let's say, Willie Rioli and Josh Kennedy about the grand final moment. You remember when we kicked that goal? And Gaff's like, yeah, I wasn't there. So I don't know. I just feel like inclusiveness wise, he just wouldn't feel as connected. So maybe that's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just making.
Look, I don't know if he was thinking about that before he wanted to go.
No, not like the grand final. I'm talking
Yeah.
about he'll just never be. Not one of them. I don't know how to word it. Just
Do you think that's
part of that.
that's part of? I guess this is a broader issue now. Do you think that's what drives some guys out if they're not in the premiership winning team, and suddenly it's like Those are the 22
Yeah.
blokes that won the grand final together. Like they always say that's like, that's a bond that never
That's
breaks.
right.
Those are the blokes that you achieve ultimate success with.
I think that's
And we look at Richmond
very
as
true.
well as
I
a
was
lot of
about to
guys
say.
moving out. Sam Lloyd's going. Stengel.
Brandon Ellis, you just mentioned.
Both the Ellis boys apparently wanting out. Conker
Anthony
as well.
Miles
Yes, Miles.
And Jacob Townsend, which Doc brought up before.
Yeah. Are Richmond going to field a team next year? Or?
Not going to field the VFL team, that's for sure.
No, we're not.
I'm going to say, just back on the
Gaff,
gaff situation. Like, it would. I reckon. I'm shocked that he opted to go home. As I think West Coast are more. I know they just won the premiership, but they can win a few more with the side that they've got. I'm shocked that he doesn't want to be a part of that. In terms of him going to North, making an impact, I think it's going to make a huge impact, because pretty much all the bases are covered now at North Melbourne. They've got a solid back line. Their midfield's now complete with Pollock and Gaff.
I would say their forward line's still pretty young, but that's
there.
probably their worst area.
I was just going to say the one thing they probably need is another forward to cover Jared Waite,
Get
because
Drew Petrie back.
yeah,
Get him out of retirement.
yeah, I reckon so. It's just another one, because I think with Jared Waite and Ben Brown, I thought those two were quite dangerous when they were both on the park. So I think that's probably the next thing. I think they can definitely push for finals next year. I think they could be around the bottom echelon of the top 8. I reckon North. I reckon the reason why North got these players was their results this year.
Yeah.
I truly believe that. Not many people expected them to finish 9th, and
No, I definitely did not.
They
I didn't.
overperformed North Melbourne.
I didn't.
Yeah.
And securing guys like Pollock and Gaff and Aaron Hall, who's probably a little unnoticed at the moment because
Because Stewie Jew hates him.
Stewie Jew hates him.
Who says 'cause he's at the Suns?
But
Who are you?
I think those three are all really solid gets for North, and that sets them up for a good 2019.
That's good. We've already summed up North Melbourne.
Lovely. That was nice. And
Quick.
well, there's other clubs that
Sorry.
there's a lot
No,
of
that's good, though.
speculation. A lot of speculation going around. Freo, as well as a lot of people moving there.
Yeah.
Obviously, we discussed Rory Lobb.
What we got?
Jesse Hogan is basically already nominated that he wants to go home.
Yes.
And pretty much the Melbourne list manager has said that we're open to trading Jesse.
What is he worth?
He's definitely worth
I'd say
first
first
round.
rounder.
Is he
yeah.
worth pick 5 then from Freo?
Are Freo going to want to give it up? Is my
For
question.
Jesse Hogan, I probably wouldn't.
I think Freo they've got a good stock of young kids that they like. I don't think there's many positions that they have
almost-
open that they need
I was about to
young
say,
kids for.
It's almost the last thing they need as well.
Yeah, is more
As
kids.
good as Jesse Hogan
They need
is.
experienced. Yeah,
And they
like
don't
that
need
kind
any
of
more key forwards.
kind of like Carlton, how they need that like 21 to 25 kind
Yeah.
of bracket.
Yeah.
Who's
Um,
played 50, 60
Yeah,
games.
yeah.
But that's Jesse Hogan is a fantastic player. I don't think there's any dispute about that between us.
Yeah.
I think though they've got Matty Taberner, who we're a big fan of. Ken
Yes,
McCarthy
and his
looks
head.
pretty good. Brandon Cox can play either end of the ground. We probably discussed last week that he'd be more full back
Yeah.
if Hogan was to get there.
Yeah.
But I feel like it could still work. I could see Ken McCarthy maybe working around the goal square, Jesse Hogan leading up a bit more.
Because he can do that.
Yeah, and then Taberner sort of staying around the 45 to 60 metre area and
Mm.
kicking them from out there. So Freo's an interesting one again. Reece Conker.
Do you think? Yeah, I was just going to ask about Conker. So obviously he's from Western Australia, so it's pretty much done at this point from what we've heard.
Yep.
Do you reckon he plays every week at Freo?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I definitely so. I
Especially
definitely
if
reckon so.
Lockie Hill goes.
Yes,
I think
that's true.
I actually think Hogan's going to would be a great fit at the Dockers.
Yeah.
I think it eases off a bit of pressure on McCarthy and Taberner because they're not getting good service from their midfielders. So
And they're sorry to interrupt, Doc, they're probably likely to get lesser defenders as well.
yeah,
No disrespect to whoever gets them.
yeah. Oh no, absolutely. I agree with that. And I think to give up pick 5 for somebody like Jesse Hogan, who kicked 47 goals this year for a team that was in the last 4, I think is going to. I think it's a solid trade. I mean,
I think it's probably fair. Yeah.
I think it's fair, and given that they will lose Lockie Neal, they'll probably get I don't know if it's part of that 4-team.
Brisbane will give him something decent.
Yeah,
Or
Brisbane.
they'll get something decent.
Yeah,
don't
Brisbane will
really
give
know
them
that.
something decent. I don't know if it's part of the whole group thing that they've got with Melbourne and I think it was.
Yeah, there's a big 4-way or 3-way trade that's going to have to
Yeah,
happen
There's
for
20 teams involved.
everybody's involved.
Yeah, with
Every single team.
with like Melbourne and the Gold Coast. So
Yeah.
But even in that, I suppose Jesse Hogan trade, they'll just exchange some maybe later picks, like a 4th and a 5th or a 6th round. some rubbish
It depends,
Like that.
yeah. With the 3-way trades and that, you never know who's getting what. So,
Anyone else from Freo that we? Tommy Langdon's
you were
been
saying,
linked
yeah, because Langdon's been.
Yeah.
I think he's going to stay at the Pies, but he has been told that. I think they said that he can consider
there. Yeah,
elsewhere, but they're probably going to sign him.
I think they will. You guys pointed out to me that he's Victorian, so I don't think that the only reason that why he'd leave is obviously cash.
Wanting to be with his brother.
Because common sense would be that Freo would have more salary than Collingwood, just
Yeah.
because Daniel Wells is on a absolute boatload, and I
Yeah,
think Chris May's still on a fair chunk.
Mm.
And yeah, his brother Ed's playing there. So, mind you, like Tom could re-sign and Ed could make his way down the Pies in the next couple of years. You don't know, so anything can literally happen in trade.
Oh, the Pies
Yeah.
would love that.
yeah,
I rate Ed very highly. I
Yeah.
think he's a very good player.
I wouldn't understand. Like apart from their salary cap, I wouldn't understand why Collingwood would want to let go Tom Langdon after the finals
I
campaign
don't think
that
they
he's
want to
had.
let him go. I just think that he'd more. I feel like the only reason why he'd be linked to Freo for me is he wants to play with Ed.
Yeah,
Mm.
That's the only reason a rumour like that would come up.
is he out of contract next year?
Ed?
No, Tom.
I think he still
Yeah.
has a year. No, actually, he's not signed at the moment. That's why they're letting him.
Yeah.
Is he out of contract this
He's out of
looking
year?
contract
around.
now. That's right, because there was about 20 of them at Collingwood that were out of
Yeah,
contract.
yeah, they all came out of
were.
contract
There
at
was heaps
once.
of
Yeah.
Anyway, that's
Yeah.
Race Conker, just quickly. It's a strange one because he played 17 to 19 games, I think, roughly this year.
Yeah.
And
Aside from his injury, yeah.
it just doesn't make sense to me why you'd invest so much time knowing he's an unrestricted free agent and that you're probably not. Like, they've only offered him a 2-year deal, which is fair enough with all these foot problems.
Mm.
And to, there was always a talk. There was talk a couple of years ago that he was going to go back home. So for me, it really does question why it's not a. Well, for me, it is a bit of a waste of games. Like that could have gone to Corey Ellis, Anthony Miles, Sam Lloyd, someone who's actually may have stayed there, and because of that, it's almost a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
Conker doesn't stay because he played. Well, he's not leaving because he played 19 games, but Sam Lloyd's not staying, and then all those other players aren't staying.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's Fremantle wrapped up.
That's Freo. Who do we want to move on to next? I've kind of been wanting to look at the ones that have. There's some more interesting news recently, like, for example, Carlton.
Ooh.
Levi Casbolt has been told he's not going to get another contract at the Blues, which was probably expected.
Wow.
And apparently Hawthorn are looking at him,
Yeah,
which is interesting.
and the Suns as well.
And the Suns.
I think he'd probably, given that Gold Coast have pretty much literally no more tall
I was
forwards.
about to say,
Like probably Peter Wright's the only notable one, but
2 metre Peter.
2 metre Peter. But like he'll need some help, obviously.
And
So
he
I
got
think
injured terribly in that last game. Do you guys remember against Melbourne? He got his
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
card.
Yeah. I think Levi Casbolt up to Gold Coast would be a pretty interesting fit.
Look, if you just need someone to jump into contests and take marks, then I suppose if he suits your needs, he suits your needs.
He's not bad though. Like his kicking has
Oh,
improved
he's
a
got
lot.
great hands.
And he's obviously a good mark.
Yeah.
I always made up some crazy theory that he'd be good at full back, but probably not. Like I think he's obviously a forward by trait.
Well, I think the Hawks would maybe put him down there, to be
Yeah.
honest. Like,
Him and James Frawley.
I was going to say, yeah, or like, we'll see how long. Frawley, I think, is pretty close to retirement. He's looking
Not
pretty
unless that
slow.
pay packet gets any smaller. That's on what 800, 900.
Yeah.
talking about.
Well, even then, Frawley does get injured
He does.
fairly often. So even if, say, obviously, you have Casbolt and Brand down there, at least you've got someone taking marks and to support the younger backman.
Yeah.
I feel like that might work. You never know. We've seen some forwards turn it around down back.
That's right. All it takes sometimes is a change of scenery as well. And I think, like you said, Doc, I think Greenwood, Casbolt, because I keep thinking Levi.
Levi.
I think
Big
Casbolt would be
Levi.
a really good fit because you lose Lynch. Obviously, it's a massive loss. But he's sort of what you're talking about before, Kat, that I think he's a bit older than 24 now. He's probably, 26?
Who are we talking about?
Casbolt?
Casbolt's
Do you
almost
know-
30.
Is he?
Yeah.
Gee whiz.
Yeah. He only started when he was about 24, 25.
Oh, he's mature age. Well, there you
Yeah.
go. That's why I thought he was a bit... Okay,
Yeah.
so I suppose, though, for them, that gives them a good experience head and some mature experience for Gold Coast, which is especially needed down forward more than anywhere, I think.
Yeah.
With the young core that they have with Archie and Sexton and all those other guys. Still very young core.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I'm just reading at the moment that Scott Lysett has had a medical at Port Adelaide this morning.
There you go.
And he hasn't decided yet whether or not he'll join, but I think it's looking pretty certain that
I don't understand why.
I think it's because...
He's from South Australia.
He's from there, I know
Yeah,
that, but
yeah, primarily he's from South Australia, but secondly, because when you look at Port's year, Paddy Ryder missed a lot of games this year, and seeing that... And that's probably a big opportunity for Lysett. I think Paddy Ryder's now in his 30s, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, he would be.
Paddy's not far off retiring, unfortunately.
I still think...
Yeah, given that Ryder probably won't have much left in his career,
Yeah.
if he does, that's sensational. But whether he does...
Ungenuine.
But I
We do
think...
love Paddy.
I think
We do.
it's a good opportunity for Lysett to show that he's probably... that he can be a number one ruckman.
But he can at West Coast. Nick Nat's not playing for the whole year. And,
Yeah, I don't know what the logic is there. Maybe he just wants more money as well. just
but I
wants to
feel
be
like
home.
West Coast would chuck the kitchen sink at him knowing that they have no other ruck stocks. They're not going to let
Vardy's,
Nathan Vardy
Jamie Vardy.
ruck all year.
do they have any young ruckman lined up?
I have no idea.
Who at West Coast?
Yeah, at West
I know
Coast.
Jonathan Giles used to be there, but he's not there anymore.
Giles used to be about
I know.
everywhere, mate.
He was good.
So,
Was he?
He's good. I liked him.
Was he?
A lot of length.
I don't remember him being good at Essendon.
He
But
didn't play at us, so that's why.
Yeah, he did.
all I know is that there is a young man called Fraser McInnes who's played a couple
There
of
you
games.
go, yeah.
Young
McInnes.
man, he's about 24
And-
now, isn't he?
I don't know.
He's been
But-
there for yonks.
He's no good as a ruckman, though.
I think he gives something, but he's not a superstar.
I totally agree with what
He's
you're
not a
saying.
Nick Nat replacement.
I just don't see the logic. Obviously, he's from South Australia, so he might want to go home, but
and
it's not like opportunities he's going to be struck.
Who
Like,
knows,
And
mate?
I-
You don't know what's going on in Scotty
No, I
Lysett's
don't.
life.
so I take that back, Scott.
You don't know.
I apologise.
You don't know if he's got mates at the club or not. You don't know if
I'm-
he's best mates with
Chad Wingard, who's
with,
going to the
with
Dogs.
Chatty. With
I'm-
he might be best mates with I don't know, Darcy Burn-Jones.
Yeah, I could see them
Yeah.
enjoying a milkshake together at a local pub.
having a cold
Imagine
one.
if they were best friends.
Having a cold one with
I've
Billy
just nailed
Frampton.
it on the head without even thinking about it, without doing any research into Scotty Lysett's personal life.
Anyway,
I'll track him down and ask him who he's mates
he
with.
probably won't pass the medical because of the tattoo he's got.
They'd be like, nah, that's rejected.
Anyway, while we're on
Get out.
Port, Doc, have you got any other ones?
Get out.
Oh,
Mate, nothing's gone on at Port. There's a few blokes
No.
leaving.
like we know Wingard's throwing up his
His options.
throwing up his options.
Saints he's been linked to most recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I heard that
Yes.
somebody from Port, I can't remember who it was.
Homsh to the Suns.
Pittard.
we've
Yeah,
also heard.
Homsh.
And
Pittard.
Pittard.
was told to look elsewhere, but I don't think anyone's come forward.
I'm not sure why you'd tell
Yeah.
Pittard to. Jasper Pittard's a very good backman. I like him.
Yeah,
I like
me
him a
and
lot.
Doc just discussed before, a bloody All-Australian.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
2014, was it? Or a bit...
I think it was
Don't know why you'd get rid of
2015,
him.
2016.
So
a
he's-
bit more recent.
I feel like he's still, well, even then, like, he's still a very capable player then. I think he's good defender. And he's sort of prime in what they need now. Like, Essendon's a prime example of McKenna and Sard.
Yeah.
Your strong rebound. Obviously, he's not as quick, but he's a very good user at a half-back. And it's strange that he hadn't played as...
He's still quick enough.
Yeah, I just don't know. I think we all agree that Pittard's still capable.
I agree. I think his year this year hasn't been really great. Like I've seen him turn over the ball a few times, but
Yeah.
I still think he still has something to offer Port Adelaide. So I don't know. Is this Port Adelaide teasing that they're blowing up the list and they're going to rebuild
Bit of an
again?
aggressive rebuild going on.
Or-
They do have a very young team in general.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Tommy Marshall's very young. Burn Jones
Mate,
is like you touched on before, still very
Is
young.
Jack Trengo staying on? Are they offering him a new
Oh,
contract, or would
surely
he
not.
was he on 2 years or something?
No, they might.
Surely not.
I
Did,
feel like they
did he
will.
play a game this year? I think he played one or two.
Yeah, he played a couple of
I feel like he
games.
will play because
Yeah.
the Toop's been delisted.
The Toomp.
Who has interest from Brisbane.
Does he really?
You know what? You know what?
I don't think I would take him if I was
I would.
Brisbane, to be honest.
You know what? There was something
I
funny I,
think
read.
Jake needs looking
something
elsewhere
funny
as well, to be honest. I think I heard that.
There was something funny I read during the year where it was like Jack Trengo's been told he's going to play his first game for Port Adelaide, and a Bulldog supporter's come up and said, like, I think you got it wrong. Jack Trengo's playing for the Bulldogs. Like,
They lost one, they brought one back in.
it's like,
He's the same bloke.
I'm sorry, have you kept up with the news lately?
Okay.
Okay,
Um,
yes.
What team are we up to now?
Who would you like to discuss?
I'd like to talk about the Saints real quickly.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll try and fire through these a bit quicker now.
The Saints have been one who've been linked to a lot of players.
Yes, they have been. Dylan Shield has been offered 1.3
Massive.
over.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry, 8 mil over 6 years, so it's 1.3.
Which is huge.
They probably, you think, that's probably. I don't know. Would you rather go the Saints or Carlton
I'd rather go to Carlton at the moment.
Oh,
for 300k less?
I don't know. I reckon.
Oh, that's
I reckon. I reckon the. I reckon the Saints are a bit above Carlton at the
Yeah,
moment in terms of talent.
Yeah, but then
And-
what happened this year? What happened to them? They just
I think the Saints will
imploded.
make the 8 next year.
They're going to be rampaging. They're
Oh,
on
no.
the way up.
They'll make the 8 next
They're
year.
on the way up. There you go. You heard it here first.
Yep. Okay.
I
that's-
totally agree
that-
with your
If they
statement, though,
they
Joel.
get,
But yeah, no, I absolutely.
I've been told to shut up.
I'm sorry.
He's going to hit me.
But yeah, I think if Shield can make his way to St Kilda, I reckon that's going to propel them a lot further
Yeah.
up the ladder because they need like Ross, Stephen, Nunes, I think, and there was somebody else as well. That they need a little bit of class. Like,
Yeah.
like they have no problem finding the ball, but when they get the ball, they tend to butcher it. And Dylan Shield is a very classy user of the ball. So if Dylan Shield wants, I'd be for Dylan Shield going to St Kilda over Carlton.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you just talked about it then, Doc. They've got a lot of players that find the footy that are all grunt players.
Yeah.
They're all fantastic.
No class.
Oh, no, there's class there, but I just think
Stevens
Oh, yeah. Jack
quite
Stephen is a classic
it's
player.
hard to turn people that are contested bulls into good outside runners. Like, that's not a thing that you can do. I think there's obviously...
Different skill set.
That's right. And I talked about it when we did the St Kilda review. I feel like they've got too many of the same player. So I totally agree. Dylan Shield will be a perfect match. Hanbury, I think, will get there, definitely.
Yeah. What would you give up if you were St Kilda?
2 late second rounders.
I definitely agree he's not worth a first rounder anymore.
I think the Swans definitely know themselves that he's not worth the first round. But they will.
They'd be trying to get as much
They
as
will.
they could.
I know that.
They'll
but I
be
think-
playing hardball.
I think they definitely know in their mind they will be. But so you think about that though, that's 1.3 plus 800k roughly. Pardon me, maybe even more, 900.
Yeah.
There would be no room for Wingard then. So I heard Lethlean talking when I came into the studio today. Is that on Trade Radio he was saying that if they don't get Shield, they're still obviously going to contest hard for Wingard. So
Yeah.
going to be really interesting ones. And before we move on to the next team, I just want to talk about Jacob Townsend quickly.
Yes.
Sam McClure has linked him away from Tigerland down to St Kilda. You reckon a good fit?
I reckon so.
They'll play him every week. I feel like he's kind of fallen out of favour with you guys this year anyway. Him and I look at his situation kind of in the same way as Jimmy Stewart at us, that they're both kind of that like third tall forward that's kind of fallen out of favour. And I think with Lynch coming in, they're not going to want to play him at all. So if he wants to go somewhere else, then somewhere else is going to play him,
I think it's astounding that Jacob Townsend, in the span of 12 months, has gone from a guy that kicked 6 and 5 in the last 2 games of the home and away season, and a premiership player at the end of September, to a guy who's on the way out.
Yeah.
And like he was a real good story last year, and now he's going to find himself in St Kilda, which I think is going to be a good fit because they need guys that can kick goals, and he's certainly one who can do so.
Got a lot of grunt as well. I
Yeah,
like it.
he brings a lot of pressure, and I think he'll complement guys like Membry well and Jade Gresham. Daniel Menzel's another one I think could be a good fit at St Kilda.
Yep.
I think
They're-
Menzel's done. I think he's past it, to be honest.
But no,
You're having a joke.
you're
I don't
having a
think-
giggle, mate.
Nah.
Deal.
Nah. How old is he now?
Daniel Menzel is, for
He's-
me, was still is Geelong's best forward.
Yeah,
over the
early
last
in the
2
year I
years.
thought
Over the
he
last
was
2
good.
years.
I didn't think.
I don't think he's that old.
I think
Tom
Menzel
Hawkins-
falls out of games too easily.
Get off it.
He doesn't work hard for it.
Get off your high
He
horse.
does not. He doesn't.
He's
Doesn't work.
27, Daniel Menzel. He's in his prime.
Exactly.
I don't know.
He's the fact that he's got over all those recoats and can still be he kicked 43 goals or something last season, not this
Yeah,
season.
he kicked 40 goals last year. What?
And you're telling me he's past it?
Oh, I don't.
That's like saying Dusty's past it now.
And he kicked 20.
Dusty's had a down year. All right, you know what? Maybe Menzel just had a down year.
He kicked 27 goals in 13 games this year.
Down year.
Average 2 goals
Average
a game.
2 goals. It's not bad.
Not bad. You'd be lucky to see half the blokes in anyone's team average 2 goals a game as a medium forward playing 13
I think
games.
he's on the decline. I think he's on the decline.
I would take him at the Bulldogs in a heartbeat.
I'm with you, Doc. I'd take him at my club easy. I'd drop Jessica Stenger and put...
And put Menzel in.
I would, easy.
Yeah, no,
Nah, I think
he's a lot
on the down.
He's
I
a
think
lot
on the
sharper.
down.
That's just a ridiculous
That's
call.
my call.
There's the headline.
Yeah,
Daniel Menzel is on the down.
Daniel Menzel's
He's
done.
past it.
All right.
He's done.
Now we're going to go to the teams that only have 1 or 2 rumours, so we'll quickly
Yes.
plough through them. GWS, Shane Mumford.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, that was
Coming back from retirement,
Is
apparently.
this rubbish or is this going to happen? Do you
No, I reckon it'll happen.
Yep.
Like that. He's told people close to him that his foot's recovered, and he's going to be fighting in November in boxing, and
reckon? Fighting for his spot.
Get his fitness back.
Shane Sausage Mumford, I
Yep.
believe is what he's called.
Yeah.
Look, I'm a bit doubtful about whether he can. His body obviously was what let him down. That's why he retired. He's copped a lot of injuries in his last few years. Maybe a year out of footy, not having to play week in, week out will do him well. Maybe they'll play him unlimited game time just so they have a big body ruckman in there. Losing Lob's going to be hard for them.
And Patton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Lob does go, that means Mumford's workload increases a lot more now.
Yeah, and obviously Dawson. They don't think Dawson can play as the sole ruckman. Dawson Simpson, I like him. I think he's got potential as a ruckman, but he's not a star ruckman of the
I think they
competition.
could, just like you said, sorry, Doug,
No,
before I
that's
cut you off, I just want to quickly get this point across, is that, like you said, I think they could play Mumford on limited game time and have Dawson sort of as a number 1, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like I reckon Dawson Simpson's been a good find. The only problem is that he breaks down a lot.
Yeah,
So
It's a trend with the GWS boys a bit, isn't it?
yeah, I reckon-
Injury
I reckon
management
it's
They
a
have very
It's-
serious
it's
injuries.
It's a trend with a few of the clubs. I know the Bulldogs have been prone to
got
it.
some bad injuries. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not. Oh, yeah, actually, a lot of them were pretty serious. But I was thinking more, you compare Collingwood with the GWS, a lot of soft tissue compared to serious sort of ACL and knee. So anything can happen in sport. Quickly, we'll go back to Freo because we didn't talk about them. Lob we just talked about. Lockie Neal on the move.
Yes, he's basically been offered 5-year deal at Brisbane. They
Yeah.
reckon the trade's going to go down.
Good as gone, do you reckon, Doc?
I reckon, yeah, I think so.
Yep.
We're yet to hear the official confirmation,
So
but
what's he worth?
I think he's definitely worth a first round.
Yeah,
So
he
what's
is, he is.
Brisbane's first pick? 2?
No,
no, sorry.
No, it'd be about 4 or 5.
Yeah, with the I actually heard something with the compensation for Lynch. Did everyone get
I
shuffled
think
down?
they give that up.
So
Yeah,
St Kilda get 4 and then Brisbane
I
get
think
5.
they give that
Yeah.
up.
So at the moment it's pick 4, but until Tom Lynch gets to Richmond, it's going to be pick 4, and then
It'll be
bumps up
5,
pick,
yeah.
pick 5.
There's going to be
So
probably
5
a
for
3-way
Neil
trade
straight,
involved.
or then maybe like the Jesse Hogan trade.
Yeah,
couple of
it,
seconds.
like
yeah,
I reckon
yeah.
once Jesse Hogan official, I think it's official now. He wants to go.
Yep.
Like that's going to set all the stuff like May to Melbourne, Neil to Brisbane. That's all going to go down.
And like you
Yeah,
talked
it's
about,
going to be like last year when the trade started going down. It was kind of a domino effect where everyone got the picks they needed and then it just all
Yeah.
started going along.
Yeah.
and like you said before, I think there'll be a lot of multi-team trades that will work well
Yeah,
in tangent together.
Yeah,
Geelong, they've only got 2 people Well, Gary Rowan definitely wants to get there,
We've
I've heard. Tom
discussed,
Harley
yeah.
came out, and we talked about that
Yeah.
last week.
Yep.
Brendan Goddard's also been linked
Yeah,
there.
you said that this morning.
Does that work,
God.
do you think?
I'm not too sure about that, to be honest, because
I don't think Geelong need older players. They don't need another old head in there.
I think that they proved last year that bringing Gary Ablett back did not work.
It didn't.
No.
Like, so I don't understand why you'd want another old head in Goddard. Like, I know he's been a great player for quite a while. And I know you're making that face, Miller, but he's been a
No, yes,
he's
yeah.
been a solid contributor for over a decade now, maybe even 15 years. But I really do, if I was a Geelong supporter, I wouldn't want Goddard at the club.
No, fair enough. And the last one from Geelong was the Dalhurst 3 to 4 year deal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's getting there.
He's there.
Compensation?
I wanted to. Oh yeah,
Will he get any?
second round.
Yeah, second round. I'd say so.
Fair call.
Like,
We know they've been really stingy with the compo because West Coast got the are going to get what is it the start of the second round
19.
for Gaff.
I raise you this.
Yes.
Stephen Motlop got offered a similar deal last year to go from Geelong to Port Adelaide. Geelong got, I think it was end of first round compensation
Yeah.
pick. I'm not saying Dowhouse will get one or I'm expecting it, but anything less than a second round pick, I'll be extremely angry.
He's writing a letter to Gill.
He's going to be fuming.
I'm
I kind of agree with that.
I'm I'm set on this. I'll accept a second round pick and nothing less.
We should get you in charge of the trades because I feel like they will accept something less.
One of the players from the Cats that wasn't offered a contract was Jackson Thurlow.
Ooh.
He's more past it than Daniel Menzel.
Oh, I thought the start of this year, there were about 4 rounds where I thought Jackson Thurlow looked like he was becoming an elite player.
He just hasn't come back from his foot injury.
I don't think he's. I think going to the right club, but getting in the right environment. I think
getting his
Thurlow
stats
can.
up, Doc?
No, I'm just
about
having a
Thurlow.
look.
Please get his stats up.
Get his stats
Yep,
up.
Because
we'll
I'm ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
I think there's clubs that could look at Thurlow.
Nope.
Brisbane, maybe.
I'd say Gold Coast, Brisbane. I think even Hawthorn.
Gold Coast
I
will
think
take
Hawthorn
him.
are undermanned in their back line. And I think
Jordan
Thurlow would
Murdoch,
not
what
be
about
bad.
him then?
Murdoch, I don't know about Murdoch.
Been around a long time.
Yeah.
Jordan Murdoch's.
Running machine.
Yeah, he's a very quick player, but what he does with it is what concerns me.
He does have a good tank, apparently. He gets up
Yeah,
and down.
like he's a good runner, and he's.
I think they just need to retool him. I think if you look like
I think teach him how to kick would be good.
I was going to say Jackson Thurlow's stats aren't very particularly impressive, but
he's not like he's a rebounding
shush.
defender. He's
I
not
wanna hear
Rory.
the
He's
stats.
not Rory Laird,
quiet.
mate. All right.
Stop talking.
But to be quite fair, he's only played like 17 games in the last 2 years, so
Okay.
like
He'll
this
be
year,
good when he plays.
this year his averages were 15.5 disposals, 4 marks, and about 2 tackles. So
So a really good defender.
no, he's okay. He's solid, but
Look,
Solid.
he's all right.
he's solid when he's on the park. But I think
I think he deserves another opportunity.
Okay, just quickly before I move on, I just want to pose
Yes.
you one question. So
Yes.
you're still telling me that Daniel Menzel is past it, but Jackson Thurlow is not.
I think he's on the down. I think he's
That's
not going to
it.
have a very
Okay.
good year next
Right,
year.
moving on. Gold Coast.
Moving on. All
Because
right.
you can't run the show anymore.
Oh,
Oh,
Anthony
that's
Miles.
the second time
stake through my heart.
You've given him a clip. You've
Cause
given him a clip.
He's just chatting rubbish. I'm not in the
He's
mood.
not happy with
I'm
me
not in the
today.
mood to hear Daniel Menzel is
He's
past
not
it.
happy with
Okay,
me.
Gold
All right.
Coast. Anthony Miles is definitely getting there.
Yep.
Out of contract and
Yeah.
out of favour.
And you think Coriolis is
Coriolis
going
has been
with
linked there
bundle
because
deal.
apparently that's part of that, but also the Tom Lynch stuff. I think because
Yeah.
he's a restricted free agent, Gold Coast are willing to not like match it and try and
Yeah,
knock some
yeah.
salary off for the Tigers.
Yep.
Jack Homsch, you mentioned
talked
before,
about Homsch,
Doc.
yep.
Good fit.
I think so.
The Giants, the Suns just need players in positions. To be honest, they just need people in there. Key position players.
I reckon. I've seen games that Jack Holmes plays, and he goes way unnoticed.
Yeah, good
'Cause
third tall.
He's a good third man up. Plays a role similar to what Josh Gibson did at Hawthorn.
Yep.
And I think he does that role really, really well.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why
they're letting him go.
why Port would let him go.
It comes back to what we all discussed. It may be a bit of a reshuffle back there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there
You
any?
go.
Was there, I was gonna say,
Sorry. The
was it-
last one was just going to mention Ben Keys.
Yes.
You reckon?
I reckon so.
He's going crosstown rivals.
Doc likes him a lot.
Yeah,
Apparently.
I,
Doc
I,
likes
reckon,
him.
I reckon he's got a lot of talent and a lot of grunt.
a
Ben
lot of
Keys.
potential.
And I reckon give him time in a midfield that struggles severely, and I think he'll flourish.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was just going to say,
Yep,
speaking of Brisbane, my boy Big Grizzly Adams is
He's not going there.
no, but he was
I
linked
think he
to,
might be going.
but he was linked to Brisbane. He was linked to Collingwood, and before that, he was linked to go back home to WA.
But that's what it's all like in the trade period.
No, I just think it's stupid because he's contracted
Yeah,
for another couple of years. So
Yeah.
and as a Bulldog supporter, I've heard this shtick time and time again since he came to the Dogs in 2016.
yeah, it's always been rumoured to go.
Like I don't understand.
it's annoying.
I don't think he's going to go anywhere until he formally
I think he'll stay.
tells Beveridge that he wants out. I'm not believing an ounce of what Marcus Adams and what other journos say about him.
It's up in the air for me.
What
I
do you
don't
reckon?
know.
Yeah,
Up in the air, 50-50. Could go, could stay.
Okay, interesting one. Melbourne.
Yeah, I
They've
was
been-
gonna say the D's have got a few that wanna leave.
Are you hosting, are you? Do you want
Yes,
to host? You go back to hosting.
Yes, Dean Kent. We already talked about.
Yep.
Last week.
Yeah, good fit for Saints.
Apparently Dom Tyson wants out, which I can understand.
Yeah, he
when he
does.
doesn't play week in week out. He's been linked to Essendon, apparently,
Good fit.
which I wouldn't
He likes
mind.
it.
Play
I like it.
play
Cat
Tyson
likes it.
Do you like it, Kate?
anywhere. Put him anywhere in the midfield. Just
I
midfielders.
think you say anywhere on the field.
put him in full forward.
Well, he wants to play as an inside midfielder, so I'd say
Yeah,
give it
we'll
to
get him in there.
I'd say give it to him.
Does it work?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, getting the deal done. Will that work?
What do you give up for him?
I feel like
somewhere
Melbourne
in the
rate him
second
highly, but at
round.
the same time,
Somewhere in the second round. I don't know if they want anything we got. To be honest.
Oh, you're just saying that because
No
you
one
want to
wants
keep
to
everyone.
leave.
James Stewart possibly.
Oh
if
yeah,
Hogan
go
goes.
Jimmy.
But
We'll
where,
give him Jimmy.
but where do you?
Why not?
But where do where do you put him if you got Wiedemann and Tommy McDonald?
Tom McDonald plays
We'll
fullback.
play him as well. Yeah,
No,
then
don't play him.
if you
Don't play him fullback.
Start playing Stewart as the third tall. He's going to get PTSD nightmares from
Don't
playing in the VFL at Essendon.
don't fix something that isn't broke, Miller.
Their back line's broken.
Keep
Doc.
McDonald at full
Wait, what are you
forward.
saying about Sammy Frost and Oscar?
They're not good fullbacks to play on people like Josh Kennedy and Jack Darling.
Oh no.
Oh. No,
Anyway.
no, you know what?
And that's why they want Stephen May.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with that, and that's why. Yeah, exactly. That's why they're getting Stephen May.
Dog
Well, it's
Okay,
Stevie.
I'm not saying
No, I agree. I
I'm
think
not saying Tom McDonald's a terrible forward. I'm just saying if you looked at Melbourne's team as a whole and you said I'd rather have an All-Australian fullback than Sam Frost, I think I'd
Yeah.
rather take an All-Australian fullback. But then you say I'd rather have a 40, 50 goal kicker, potentially 60 next year if he plays every week.
you'll kick 60 next
Kick
year.
100.
The next century goal kicker.
A few from the Swans, rooms with the Swans I want to talk about. We talked about Aaron Vandenberg last week.
Oh, yep.
Did we?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, good.
We did.
I can't remember.
Taylor Giray from the Hawks.
We did also mention.
We
little
mentioned
little
that last week.
half-back man. Did we? Are you
We
sure?
did.
I feel like this is
remember I
news.
broke the huge
Yeah.
story.
All right. Oh, yeah,
Yes,
that's right.
we have
you
our
did.
own little Damien Barrett in the
Thank
booth.
Ryan Clark is the one that we haven't discussed. Ryan Clark from North Melbourne wants to move
Yes,
over to the
that'll
Swans
get done.
apparently.
That'll get done.
You
Nick
think he
Newman will
fits
make
at
his
the-
way down there.
Straight swap Newman for. I think that's pretty similar talent. Newman.
I
for Clark.
reckon it's solid. And I think I rate Ryan Clark a bit higher than Nick Newman.
Where does he play at the Swans? Where do they put
Who,
him?
Clark?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Clark.
I'd say halfback, either
Put him on
halfback or
halfback.
or in the middle.
Him and Callum Mills would be very nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then you got McVeigh. A couple of
Well, McVeigh's time's nearly up, so I think.
That's what they've been saying for the past 3 years, mate. Jared McVeigh's going to play.
What,
for
what, what would I know?
Wait, Doc. He's not. McVeigh's time's not up. Daniel Mensah's time's up.
Is there anyone else? Anyone else we want to talk about before we wrap this up?
Sammy Lloyd to the Dogs.
Yes.
Yeah, I was about to say the Dog's got a couple of interesting ones. I heard Libba is signing.
He's staying.
Yeah,
He
he's
is
staying. Apparently,
Fantastic to see.
apparently that was all set
Yeah.
before he went overseas with his good mate Dowhouse, and
Him and his mate Dalhouse. You
Yeah,
love
well,
him. You love the two of
I
them.
tell you
don't
what, they had some adventures in Portugal.
got up to some real
I'll
good
just
stuff.
quickly
But
power
yeah,
through
but
the last
Cade
one.
Kolajasny from is it? Hang on, is it
Gold
Cade?
Coast.
Is Cade the Gold Coast?
Yeah,
one?
Cade's the Gold Coast
Yes,
one.
he wants to come to Melbourne. Apparently,
Yep, it's happening.
put
Yep.
him in the back line, slot him in there.
Wing?
No, you reckon?
Oh, I reckon halfback at wing.
I think a wing just because if Dom goes and Vanderberg goes and who else do they put
Well-
on the wing?
Well, Vandenberg's more of a half forward than a winger, I would say.
Yeah,
well,
but
well,
sometimes- yeah, true actually.
Yeah,
who are Melbourne's outside runners at the moment?
they're all leaving. They're all
Crickets.
going. The crickets.
No, the cricket's
no one's
Creek.
there.
No,
what
I
I'm
mean that
like.
was a legitimate question.
Yeah, I
but,
don't know. I can't think of it.
I'm sure if we can get John Clark in here, he'll tell us.
I actually can't.
Bernie Vince.
No, I actually can't think of any.
He's retired.
outside- They're very grunt.
That's what they're lacking, maybe.
Yeah,
Outside run.
yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
I think him on a wing would be good. I was going to say Sam. I was just going to
I wonder
follow
if
on.
Melbourne made a play for Pollock at all. Pollock
No,
or Gaff. They didn't.
No,
they did not. Oh, they did make a play for Gaff, not for
I
Paul.
was just going to
You go,
follow.
Doc.
I was just going to follow on from the Sammy Lloyd. I think that
Reckon
they.
he's good for the doggies.
Yeah, I reckon he is. Like
Yeah.
at the very worst, he'll be just a solid depth player, and we would have to give up like a 4th or 5th round pick for him.
Well,
So it's-
Lloyd's worth more than that, I'd think.
no,
Not to Richmond.
no, but
He is in the open market.
no, that's
100%.
no, that's not me. That's not
No,
me.
I know
saying-
what you're saying.
Yeah.
But like
yeah.
that's what I've heard. Like they're just gonna exchange
They-
late
they
picks
will,
for him.
which is a shame because
That's a severe
No, I
underrating
agree.
of Sam
No, I
Lloyd.
say I agree.
Yeah.
He's worth more than that, but the Tigers don't run him at all.
Yeah, I reckon at the very worst he'd just be a solid depth player. But if we can get games into him, I think he can form something with Billy Gowers and
Yep.
Tory Dixon,
boys.
provided the
The
latter stays fit, and I also say also Josh Shackey as well. I think they're slowly getting together a really good forward line at the
Yeah.
Bulldogs.
Yeah, it's
They
nice.
are. They are. I thought
Um,
Shaki had a massive year.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Anyone else we'd like to mention before we wrap it
I'll
up?
just plough through them.
What
There's
have
a
we
couple of
got
teams
through?
left still. I'll just go
Yeah,
quickly.
yeah.
Brad Crouch is possibly out of Adelaide.
Oh
I
yes.
suppose the only thing is that he's obviously roommates roommates with his brother and stuff, and probably won't leave unless he leaves.
He doesn't care.
Yeah,
He's out. He
So
wants
he
money.
might be going to Tigerland, which would be nice. Tyson Stengel, is it Stengel? Stengel, sorry.
He's going to the Crows.
He's gone to the Crows.
Yep.
Apparently
Just
out
do a straight swap, mate. Crouch versus Stengel. They're worth the same.
Same.
Jeez, we all know who wins that one.
He's only 19. He's got a lot of room to grow. Played, I think, 19 or something games in the VFL and
Kicked
kicked 37 goals.
ledger goal
something like
kicking.
that.
Yeah.
So he's on the move.
How's that?
Daniel Menzel, who we talked about before, has also been linked to Adelaide. Carlton, we briefly touched on, but a couple that could be coming in. Obviously, Mitch McGovern's locked. Sealed, signed, delivered, they reckon. Shetterfield is also in the race with Essendon. Shetterfield.
Yeah, you could go either way.
Be a good pickup. Alex Vasolo has signed a 4-year deal, they reckon. 3 or 4 year deal.
I think it's 3.
Worth about 1.1. So not bad.
That's okay. If he can stay fit, then that's a really good signing.
Yep. Rory Atkins also been linked from Adelaide to Carlton.
Atkins.
Darcy Moore is expected to sign a 2-year deal or 1-year extension sometime next week.
Tyson Goldsack's future's up in the air.
Tyson Goldsack, I was about to mention, future's still up in the air. Jack Martin's still being linked to Essendon.
Yes.
And I think that's pretty much it.
I think we've covered it. Carl Amon we didn't talk about. He wants to go to the Hawks, I think.
Yep, he'll probably get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, say 3rd round.
Don't know if he's mates with Impey, but maybe that's a bit of reason to get over there.
I reckon so. They've got a little rat pack over it. I reckon. Little rat pack over it.
You just hate Port.
Hey, how many times are we going to go through this? I don't hate Port.
He just hates South Australians and everyone else and not from Victoria.
All right, that's it.
I think we've wrapped up about every possible trade rumour and the ones that are basically locked down so far. Obviously, there'll be more to come out during trade week.
I was going to say just one more. Jordan Rufford to West Coast. Yes or no?
Sorry.
They'll take him. Why not?
Yeah, I reckon if Lysett goes, Roughhead can probably get some games up at West Coast.
Well, we'll be in the thick of it next week when the actual trades do start happening. It's going to be a very, very big week. We'll see how many of these actually go down.
Probably none.
Probably none.
Yeah.
It's honestly, this is one of the bigger ones. Last year was pretty big, but pretty much every club's got someone moving, leaving, or coming in.
It's been building.
So thank you for joining us this week on the A3 Podcast. Make sure you follow us on our socials on Facebook, A3 Footy Podcast, on Instagram at A3 Footy Podcast. We will be up across various things, YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, all that once we can get that all up and running. It's been a big year, but that will be up very shortly.
Just quickly while we're on the socials, when trades actually happen, we will be posting them
yes,
on the
we'll
socials.
post some
We're
news.
not just going to post rumours because then we could literally make up anything we wanted. So
yeah, I know.
When trades go through, please be on the A3 podcast, on Instagram, sorry, because we'll have the latest trade that went through.
Also on the Facebook page, we'll be all over it there.
We'll get over it all. My name has been Alex Catalano.
I've been Alex Miller.
I've been Alex Doherty.
Thank you for listening and join us next week.